Come on in. I've been looking for you. We're going to have a good time. The coffee's hot, the cookies are fresh, and I'm ready to share a little bit with you. Don't be afraid to give your own comments. I'd love to hear them. I don't know about you, but I don't like detours. I don't like to be on a trip and suddenly see a sign, detour ahead. I hate it. Can you imagine? Years ago, John and I took 3 kids on the road for 3 months. There were no disposable diapers. And it was interesting. We went from one church to another, and we had to look good. I had to make sure the kids were dressed well, and we had to sing Spanish and English.
And Swedish.
Oh yes, a little Swedish. And we had to be a testimony. But boy, I remember those trips. And I remember being on the highway, and I was John's navigator. Sometimes I didn't do a great job. I finally discovered I had to have the map the right way. But we only had maps. We didn't have GPS or anything special, just a map. We'd be driving along, and all of a sudden, detour ahead. And I sighed. Oh no, detour. How do you feel about detours? This week I've had a detour at my house. I live on North Ware, and part of it was closed for repairs, I guess. And I had to find a detour. I had to find a way to get to McAllen. All my business is in McAllen. My church is in McAllen. I had to find a way, and I had to find a detour. And it took me a little while. I went way out of the way a couple times. But then I finally found a shortcut, and the detour was possible. In the Bible, once in a while, you read something about detours. I can't help but think about Jesus when he was here on earth. In John chapter 4, it talks about Jesus was on a little trip with his disciples, and he said something very important. I read it in one of the translations of my childhood. I must needs go through Samaria. He said, I have to go through Samaria. To me, to my way of thinking, that was a detour from their plan. But the disciples went along with it, and they got to Samaria, and Jesus was tired. The Bible said he sat down by a well to rest. He was tired. I've been tired on these long trips, but I can't imagine my Jesus walking long distances to share the gospel. And as he sat there, a woman came at high noon to draw water from the well. That was the reason for the detour. There was somebody that needed Jesus. Somebody needed a word of encouragement. Somebody needed a word of hope. This woman was far from God. She had tried to find happiness with 5 different husbands. And he said to her, the last one is not really your husband. I suppose she had a red head, a dark-haired man. Maybe she found a blonde one somewhere, a fat one. I don't know, but she'd tried finding happiness, and she hadn't found it. And she came and saw Jesus, and she thought, another man. Jesus just wasn't another man. He was God's son. And he began to talk to her, which was unheard of. He was a Jew, and she said, how can you talk to me? I'm a Samaritan. Nobody wants to talk to us, but he talked to her. And he talked to her about living water, that she could come and drink of that living water and never thirst again. He was talking about spiritual water, something to satisfy very deep needs in her heart and in her life. And you know what? She believed. Not only did she believe, but she became an immediate evangelist. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine if she applied to become an evangelist with some groups? They'd say, what kind of training have you had? Well, none. How long have you been a Christian? 5 minutes? I don't think they would take her on. No. But she became an immediate evangelist. She went and called those men, and she called the people of the town, and they came and they said, we want to see what happened to you. There was revival there. Mm-hmm. That was the reason for the detour. And I'm telling you, there's always a reason for a detour. They're working on Ware Road. I think perhaps they're through now for a while, but there must have been some reason. And I could have said, well, I'm going to go anyway. I'm going to go around that sign. Nobody's going to stop me if I'm going to just drive a little faster. I might not have gotten there alive. They warned me to take a detour, and I should have listened. Sometimes we push ahead on something and we think we're right, but we really, really are on a detour. God has something special for you, and we've gotten off the path. We've gotten off the marked highway. We've gotten off all the way from good teaching in our church, and we say, I can do it myself. I don't need to go Sunday. I can do it myself. And pretty soon, you know what happens when someone's all alone? Ask me. I know you start getting very, very sad. And you start to drift. No longer do you want to read the word. No longer do you want to pray. You have gotten off on a detour. You need to get back on the highway. The Bible says there's a highway to heaven. There's a highway, and none can walk that way but the pure in heart. We need to be on that highway. Don't choose a detour. Don't choose a detour, no matter how good it looks. It's going to be a shortcut. Many years ago, we were in Washington, and my husband had this idea. I think I have a shorter way to get to where we're going. We're going to have to go up a mountain, but it's shorter. It won't take quite as long. And I said, okay, you're driving. We'll go along with it. It was a detour, and it wasn't a good road. Pretty soon the road got more and more narrow. There was nowhere to turn around. We wanted to turn around. We couldn't find a turnaround. We had to back around. It was scary. And to make it even worse, it was at night. But the Lord helped me to not say a word. I didn't say, that wasn't too smart, was it? No. If someone gets off the beaten track, let's love them. If they've chosen a detour thinking they can make an easier way to get to heaven, let's love them and say, come back. The road is ready for you. The road is smooth. I'm on this road, and this is a road that's going to lead us to heaven. Come on, I'll help you. You're not alone. Look, there's a lot of us walking on this road. Come on back. I thought of one in the Bible named Mark. Mark was traveling in a missions group, and pretty soon he got a little bit discouraged. It was pretty rough. Maybe it was too hot. Maybe there was a lot of persecution, but at one point he chose a detour, and he thought, I'm going home. But you know what? He came to his senses, and the time passed, and the Apostle Paul said, bring Mark with you, for he is profitable to me. There's always a way back. There's always a turnaround. Let's look at Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 21. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way. Walk in it." Sometimes you say, "I don't know what to do. I chose the detour. I saw the sign, but it wasn't a sign from God. I chose a detour." But he says, whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way." Listen for God's voice. He will tell you, get back on the road. Get off the detour. The road is prepared. Follow me. I will be with you. This is the way. Walk in it.